Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast.
Back from the retreat, and so Jodi and I actually both had solo weekends, as Jodi mentioned on the show.
Yes.
Which was great, by the way.
It was great.
And I think it was great for both of us. It was really, that was the first conversation that we had yesterday, but I purposely didn't explain any of this to Jodi until, today, what my side of the retreat was actually
right. We haven't
like.
talked a lot about the man retreat and we talked about what you ate because you love to tell me about your food, but I don't know about your goals and I don't know about your outcomes.
Yeah.
What's funny is I saw Jodi's video posted over the weekend.
Yeah.
All the things she did, and I was like, okay, where's Murphy's video?
Yeah. I was off the grid.
Yeah.
I was actually off the grid for a bit. Well, so I...
Man retreat.
It was a man retreat, and the reason that I do it, again, is just it's a refocusing. It's one of the best things that I discovered 5 years ago I could have done for myself and should have done it much sooner in my life. But anyway, it is what it is now. And so this weekend, I decided to take a slightly different approach where I balanced out just the relaxation part with the prep part, and It paid off. It was the smartest thing I could have done. It's actually one of the best retreats that I've done so far. And I think the reason's going to surprise you because the things that happened, at the beginning of this could have derailed the entire retreat. The bed and breakfast that I chose to stay at, and I like to do that. If I can do a bed and breakfast or just an Airbnb instead of a hotel, it's a different vibe than a hotel.
Feels more homey.
Yeah. So the bed and breakfast that I stayed at was, there was a festival going on the grounds of this bed and breakfast this particular weekend.
You didn't tell me any of this.
And there were two huge stages on either side of the room that I was staying in.
What party?
And so bands were playing from 10 o'clock in the morning until 9:30 at night.
Oh, God.
Oh, this is so rich.
And to compound the situation, the if you picture what two old wood frame houses joined together might look like, that's what I was staying in.
Nice.
I was in one half, somebody was in the other half, but apparently it can be made to be in an adjoining suite or whatever you want to call it.
If families go together.
And there's zero when I say zero insulation, I mean like nothing. I could hear it when somebody went to the bathroom.
Oh.
I could hear, Sam, little things like, I could hear people passing gas. It's like, wow, man.
Did they ever come in your room accidentally?
No, there's no way to do that.
Okay.
It was not.
Oh, my
They weren't. You know how adjoining hotel rooms work where the doors shut? Well, that's what this was. They were shut from both sides. There was no way for somebody to come in.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
How distracting.
Yeah. So the first night that I was there, it had the potential to really derail me. And that's when I realized, no, there's no changing this. I've picked this weekend. Isn't this the point? The point of this whole thing is for me to try to adapt and not let my external environment mess with my internal peace. And so it turned out to be the best weekend.
Oh, yay.
So what I did back and forth, I would alternately go eat. So the bed and breakfast, they were serving breakfast as a group, and I didn't even think about that. I wasn't paying attention to that when they did the hotels. It's like,
hi, what room were you in?
Mr. Murphy. That's right.
Are you next door to me?
Right.
Which one of you?
Right. You had a little bad stuff to eat last night, didn't you? But anyway, so I sit down for breakfast, and it was, group, and I like that. I haven't done that in a long time, but you got people traveling really from all over the place. And so there's a couple from California. There was another couple from Maryland, Massachusetts, somewhere northeast. Anyway, all around you just have a group of people who don't know each other, and that makes the conversation fun and interesting. And so that was about a half hour. But that wound up being like one of the distractions and the treat. It was unexpected. I enjoyed it. And the breakfast was actually, very good. But what I would do during the daytime is part of it I would just sit on the porch because the weather was comfortable enough to be able to do that. Yeah. And hearing the music play in the background. And, growing up in sort of a festival environment anyway, it became a soothing sound hearing the bands playing.
Sure.
It reminds me of literally everything from years of doing that in radio where we've hosted stages in the past, and it's a festive environment, I
Yeah.
guess, because it's a festival.
It's like a
And-
weekend vibe.
Yeah, and that made it really nice. And then I would go out and drive around and enjoy a restaurant or two, and it paced myself so that I was doing a couple of hours of focus time and a couple of hours of just relaxation. And one of the things that I had read, and it really stuck with me, it's like everything that I needed to know just kind of came to me. I know that sounds probably really Zen or whatever you want to call it, ethereal, whatever. But, I think when you put yourself in the place, you just notice things more.
Yes.
And one of those is how we define downtime. And downtime is not really downtime when you're scrolling on your phone.
No, it's not.
Downtime is not really downtime when you're working on a hobby. If that's what you want to do, that's great, but that's not downtime. Cleaning out a closet, that's not downtime. Anything that you would do staying idle at home is not downtime. Honestly, even watching TV, theoretically, is not downtime because you're engaging your brain. Mm-hmm. And so what I was actually, I made sure that my downtime was just that: driving, looking, enjoying. Having dinner for one actually was, I always miss Jodi because there's always a story to share, but it was very therapeutic.
Yes.
And so
You have to be able to be with yourself.
Yeah.
You do.
But the biggest thing to me that opened up all doors for me was the beginning going, I'm not going to get any rest. And then I realized, all right, we'll just roll with it. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that I did. And so I had scheduled a massage at one point. Actually, it was when I got into town, that was the first thing I had was a massage. And then I'm like, okay, so physically now I'm prepped, and I get to the bed and breakfast, and the bands are playing. So I realized you got to steer yourself back to to the mindset. So that part was a lot of fun.
Nice.
So do you want to know what I actually fixed and changed?
I want to say, what did you, when you were working, I love that you balanced it as time away, and didn't pressure yourself for some big takeaway, but I do know you. And I know that you were there to recenter your life. You're the kind of person that works on yourself, mm-hmm. and you always have. And this is probably the best exercise you've ever done for self-work. What are the takeaways? What are you working on? Like, what did you come away with?
So it really is one big takeaway with a couple of actions, if you can believe that. Because you're right. Not only do I go into it working on myself, I think some of the expectations, this is why you have to stay fluid with anything that you do in your life, because things change. Year one, when I did this, I think I know that I had a page of 10 takeaways. Remember that?
It was.
And so my other takeaways from the past are still important components of this, but the single biggest takeaway, the single biggest one, is I have allowed my own systems to become my own burden. Now, this is not because I create bad systems.
No.
I want to make that part really,
amen.
really clear. What I think I discovered, I think applies to anybody who gets into a regular routine. We tend to make our task lists, and then our lists get bigger, and we don't cross things off the list, or we continue to add things to the list, and we start to get into this motion where everything feels like it's urgent. Everything, it feels like it has to be done, immediately. And we start writing our task list out as though that were it. And we become these mental machines where we just start cranking through a task list every single day. Mm. And when you have a lot of different, roles and jobs, and a lot of people do today have, you multitask, it's a necessary evil to be able to do a lot of things at one time and organize those. But it's also really easy to let that become all-consuming. When I looked at my calendar, I realized I'm filling literally every hour of the day.
Yes.
Now, some of those things on my calendar are personal. My exercise is in my calendar. Mm-hmm. My counseling is in my calendar. The things that are, really helpful and beneficial to me are absolutely and should be in the calendar, because you're not going to do what you don't block out time to do. Right. And so part of this realization came from, and I know our daughter. I think about our daughters Taylor and Phoebe as soon as I say AI, because they're not fans of AI. This has nothing to do with mental health. This has to do with the fact that Copilot integrates with all of our stuff here at work for email and calendars. So I asked it to analyze. I wanted a breakdown of the people I communicate with most, how much of my email is actually responsive and not something that I originate myself.
Oh.
And yeah, and
Whoa.
and then, you know, the way that my calendar truly breaks out, and it broke that out to me, and no shock. Yeah, most of the email is reactive. Not all of it is, but about 65% of it. The rest, it immediately classified as leadership because it knows the direction that, you know, giving and decision making. But I say all that to say that the reactive part is what I zoomed in on and realized what I need to do is rearrange and reevaluate all of those things that are on my list and calendar and make sure that I'm actually making time for the planning part, because you can't really be effective at anything if you don't know where you're going. If all you do is wake up in the morning and hit the ground, it's the same thing. You've got your list, you go, you do. Being super organized is awesome. It's a great and important skill set that I've had to challenge myself to learn over the years. But once you've filled the whole day up with that, you leave zero room for the rest of your life, which begins to zoom by you very quickly.
And you leave zero room for surprises or something that might pop up.
And something pops up every day that derails you.
Yeah.
You have to,
Right.
You need to have wiggle room for it.
Yeah.
Breathing.
Now, I will say, when I say I've scheduled every single hour, I've always left time, but there are so many different unexpected things. But what I'm going to change, for one thing, there are a number of different meetings that I'm going to reduce because, again, as humans, we get into habits and we don't change. We never think about the things that we need to stop doing. We always think about the things that we need to be doing.
Yeah.
And we assume that the habits and everything that we've brought along with us is the way we should live our lives and what we should be doing and how we should be filling every single day up. And it's deceiving because it feels like this momentum. It feels like accomplishment.
Right.
Finishing a task is, yes, it's an accomplishment, but what are you actually accomplishing? And so if it's something that doesn't need my decision, or if it's something that doesn't require my time and attention, then that's the stuff I have to really go in and start eliminating. And that's not going to be necessarily the easiest thing to do, but that's really, you know, what this one boils down to. The takeaway this time is being honest about the things that need my attention and time, and really carving out. I've already done a good job of carving out the personal time. Jodi and I enjoy our weekends together, exercise, the things that I do for my health, all those things I do make time for, even if they get crammed into a day. But what is not being left is the thing that's most difficult for all of us, is to stop and think about, you know, the future, or am I spending my time on the right thing so I don't get surprised by something later?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be vague. Do you feel like I'm being
Well, I
vague?
wanted you to be more specific. Like, what is something you're going to try to eliminate
Doing
from a
the show?
day?
Doing the show?
No.
From a day. What's a meeting? And you don't have to name names.
No, I don't know. There are a handful of one-on-ones that I'm eliminating.
Okay. Great.
And they're going to be replaced with, you know, I have other ways of communicating.
Smart.
The project that I have started there with some people that I absolutely needed to engage with one-on-one, it's now established and it's rolling to where, and they're not, I don't want to say they're not primary reports to me. They're basically there are 17 different people that I interact with on a weekly basis. And each of those 17 people have very specific things that I'm following up on. And that's overwhelming.
It is.
And so I'm having to, you know, rethink that. And
Good, okay.
and some of it's going to be, you know, slashing the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, as far as, you know, time to, you know, think about things, I guess the example, this is so wizard behind the curtain stuff here for our show.
Yes.
But, you know, I mean, so we come in and we love what we do every day here. And, you know, doing the radio show and the podcast, all of that is really its own job, but it's really only half of the job. But I've got to respect and honor the time that it takes for us to, you know, to do these things. But I also can't be, you know, only coming in to do the show and not the other aspects of Murphy, Sam, and Jodi that require us to think to the future, like a changing media landscape, you know, where the world of podcast and radio broadcast are all converging and changing. And if you don't adapt with it, then you kind of just go off into the sunset.
Or it will change on you.
Yeah.
Without
And-
your thought.
Right. And maybe the cheese ball analogy on this would be if all you did every single day is when your car runs out of gas, you fill it back up and you drive, and you don't ever check the tires, and you don't ever check the fluids, and you don't ever change the oil, and you don't ever wash it, you don't do anything. What's going to happen to the car? Eventually, you can stick all the fuel you want to in it. It's going to break down. It's not going to be pretty, and it's going to fall to pieces. That's the kind of prep and planning that I have to stop and get into my calendar. Is that that kind of stuff, or remove from my calendar maybe.
I love that I know you're right, the AI thing, but having that that's a beauty, the beauty of it, being able to show you what you're actually doing, the factual things that have pulled on you to actually see that and know that. That's
right.
Incredible. It doesn't surprise me that you have that many responsive things that you are answering every week, every day. You're a person that a lot of people answer to or turn to.
Yeah.
You're kind of like the answer person for a lot of us. And so, yeah, I'm sure it's mind numbing to be in response mode for other people all day long.
Yeah.
And I hope that you are able to
continue
to be that person, but
yeah, and I will be that person.
It.
And I just feel refreshed and positive and in a good space. What I came back to, I didn't try to tackle my task list this time, because a few of these, retreats, I tried to get to the things that I really wanted to change and had been putting off, knowing that I had the time to block out and do that. And that wasn't the point of this. So I now see how many different things there are, but I'm not stressed by it. I'm just going to tackle them individually. But yes, you're right. It's so weird. I needed that analysis to tell me
a clear picture of you.
Yeah, because when you're in it, you don't really see it.
No.
And we tend to, they call it confirmation bias, where when we're trying to solve problems for things, we tend to we know what we want the outcome to be. So we actually seek the things that confirm our own thoughts already.
Sure.
And not the way that things really are.
Sure.
And
so human.
Yeah, and maybe that's in my life, something as a very stubborn individual and a determined person that I have to remember is that just because I have the feeling of something doesn't mean I actually have the answer, nor does it mean that feeling is correct. And just because I'm analyzing everything on my own in my own little world and task list and this, that, and the other, if I don't look outside of it, again, I'm not going to know how I'm really making my own decisions.
Have you set a timetable? Like, I'm going to start here and I'm going to go there. I'm going to do this, or? So
yes, but it's going to be one piece at a time, and some of it is just the action. The thing that I have to start immediately is the assessment. It's the first question of, is this something that I really need to be doing or worried about? Does it really feel as urgent as it is?
Nice.
Do I need to dive in right this second?
Nice.
And that's easy. That's my pitfall of getting into juggling and managing so many things, is you get this head of steam going where you really feel like everything is, I got to do it now. So that part begins, immediately. But the biggest part for me is I have a specifically set aside place now for the big picture things that I need to think about, so they are not tied into my task list that's still going to have 25, 30, 40 things a day on it. That's how it winds up running for me. But that's overwhelming. You can't prioritize 40 things and get to all 40 things.
No.
And so some of those have just been moved off to just a separate list, and I'm just going to pace myself and work through it. But it was a really good break for me. The biggest breakthrough for me was not embracing the festival environment, which actually turned out to be one of the best parts of the whole trip.
Yeah.
And and there were two separate sets of visitors that stayed in that other house next to me, and they clearly have different habits from each other, as I could hear. So, but the biggest takeaway, honestly, is the okay, dude, stop. Yes, you've got a great system. Everything you're doing the system works for you. The system's not the problem. It's what you're sticking into the system and deciding that you really need to be doing every day. That's the problem. It's going to take me a minute to learn that, but that's where I'm going.
Great. It sounds like you did some good work.
Thank you.
And
I'm glad that we had I think it's good for our relationship too, Jodi, because we're in a room together here doing this every single day.
We're in a room together every day at home too. But That's tomorrow's morning pick me up on the show. Why it's important for couples to have alone time.
Okay.
That is tomorrow's morning pick me up because there's more to it than you think. It's not just so you can, miss each other. It's about you being intimate with yourself.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, because the more that you know yourself, it's true. The better you are to yourself and better you understand yourself first, you will be better to others.
Everything else is better.
Right, exactly.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi podcast.